as you know, more than 226 midwives have taken this quiz. And so if you're concerned about burnout, you are far from alone. The most important thing about you taking this quiz right now is that it gives you an opportunity to think about your personal risk and to take steps to get help and support to help you reduce that risk while cultivating your strengths.
Pushing must be practiced during pregnancy while having a bowel movement, so it's second nature in labor. You can't teach somebody a new skill when they're in pain. So I always would say to my pregnant women, who are you thinking about when you're having a bowel movement? I hope you are thinking about me, that you're thinking about me at that precious moment in time, and they always laugh, and making them laugh makes them remember that, that they need to practice this so that when they get to labor, they know how to push with their abdominals and relax their pelvic floor that they've stretched and strengthened.
We should be aware that working with families of color is so much more than acknowledging religion differences or cultural differences, food preferences, and language barrier. You think about the iceberg, there's so much more under that iceberg that we might not see from first glance. There's this long-standing history of medical mistrust. There's this lack of a village. There are generational and cultural influences. And quite often there's these personal health crises that might be occurring as well.
Reading about and trying to educate myself deeper in breastfeeding so that I could be more of service and give more support to women who are having breastfeeding issues, I didn't find anything about how this really affects women, how their trauma can cause real issues with comfort in breastfeeding, but also just ability to produce milk.
Placenta. The non-human primates, they engage in placentophagy, but there is a loss, maybe in the course of the cultural evolution. So we have the biological evolution where we came from the non-human primates to the ones where we think we are now Homo sapiens. But why is the behavior?
One of the reasons why I think this is interesting, one of the reasons why pregnancy specifically is so complex immunologically is because of this flipping-flopping changes of inflammatory states. So first and third trimesters being pro-inflammatory states, second trimester being an anti-inflammatory state. So second trimester bliss, right? There's no inflammation, everybody feels good. First trimester blaze, and then third trimester pro-inflammatory, get baby ready and then get baby out. So it's just kind of an interesting thing. And this is also why, some of your autoimmune clients probably feel better at some points, or maybe go into full remission of their autoimmune diseases while pregnant. But also similarly, then in the postpartum phase, if somebody has maybe an unmanifested but predisposition of an autoimmune disease, it's often a time where it will show, it will rear its head, especially if they have a either traumatic birth or traumatic postpartum, unsupported, etc., where all of the things of life stack up to where it now triggers into manifestation, like they had the epigenetic predisposition for maybe psoriatic arthritis or something, and then now they've experienced this very stressful time, and so it becomes part of their picture.
What havening is essentially hacking the brain. So even though people are going to be awake, we're going to hack the brain even though they're sitting there in front of us or ourselves, and we're going to get our brain into the delta wave category in order to reduce stress and unlock trauma from the amygdala.
Make the first move. Again, we're not waiting for them to open the door. I think sometimes, especially women, might be a little bit more hesitant versus sometimes guys are kind of taught to be bold and to introduce themselves. And so even in a field that initially started off with mostly men, those teachings and those kind of examples of watching male physicians knock down doors or, make inroads for themselves, even sometimes I think for women in OBGYN, we learn and we model some things that we see the guys being successful at doing. But in midwifery, being predominantly always being female, I wonder if there's some timidity at making the first move or knocking down doors that where we don't get to say, let me embrace the same level of confidence that some of my male colleagues have, maybe the lack of having some of the males in the field at a certain level. allows for a little bit of timidity. Don't wait to be invited in. You make the first move. Be confident that you deserve to be in that space, and don't wait for somebody to invite you. Go and invite yourself.
Most important words we have to learn, and nobody teaches it. Midwifery, or most of the time our parents don't teach it. No. You can't say yes to every client that walks in the room. You can't say yes to the relationship that's no longer working at home or at work or with clients. You have to learn to say no. And until you do, your boundaries are going to continue to be crossed. You're continually battling an uphill battle. If when you go home, you're not getting the support that you need because the person there isn't doing what they need to do that you need for them to maintain this really ridiculously hard job, it's going to make that job harder.